So this is a little bit different because we are saying chapter 10, but this is not actually the information from chapter 10 in your textbook. So as you'll see, I've provided a variety of resources for you to read about this. The textbook chapter is a little bit outdated, and I wanted to make this a little more relevant to all of you. So we are calling it chapter 10, but imagine I'm putting like little quotation marks up in the air. So the topics we're going to talk about today are technology, self-care, and burnout. So as I said, we're pulling from a variety of resources today to talk about these topics. So it's not based on chapter 10 in your textbook. Here are our topics for today: technology, self-care, and burnout. So technology and ethics. Obviously, we've already talked about patient confidentiality and the laws around that, most importantly, HIPAA. And really, when it comes down to it, it's very important for you to limit personal use of technology at work. So when you are at work, you want to really think about, should you be on social media? Should you be taking pictures or videos? Because even though you may not mean to, posting information or recording information while at work can risk a breach of confidentiality for your patients, and you really don't want to do that. So ultimately, it makes sense to really limit the personal use of technology at work. You should, as a general rule, not post on social media, not take photos, and not take videos while you're at work, unless there are very extraordinary circumstances. If you follow that rule, then you won't have to worry about accidentally violating patient confidentiality. And you might say, well, Ms. Sparks, I obviously would know to protect patient confidentiality. I would never do that. And many people don't think that they're going to do this on purpose. But imagine, you're so excited for a friend who got engaged, who's, a friend from work who got engaged. And so you guys decide to take a selfie, or you take a picture of her at work to post, so happy for my friend who got engaged. And you don't realize that in the background of that photo is a patient. And now you are violating that patient's privacy by putting their image on social media and letting everyone know that they were at your place of work, having some sort of care done. Or maybe there's a computer on the background and has information up. These things are easy to overlook, but they can really get you into big trouble. So you just really want to limit your personal use of technology while you're at work. And then when you're at home, if you're posting about your day at work, it's okay to say you had a tough day or you struggled, but you never want to post any specifics. So you don't want to say, I saw a patient today that had to have their foot amputated because of diabetes. And the reason you don't want to say that is because somebody could possibly figure out who that patient is based on your post, and that would be a violation of that patient's privacy. So you don't want to post specific information about diagnoses or conditions or accidents. If there's a car accident in your town, you don't want to post about the fact that you treated that, one of the patients. All of these things would be a violation of, patient confidentiality. You would be breaking the laws associated with HIPAA. You could get in trouble. You could get fired. So you just don't want to do that and don't risk it. Another thing to think about when thinking about technology is artificial intelligence. ChatGPT is one of the most common examples, but there are a lot of others. And, while artificial intelligence is really like an exciting new development in technology, it can also be dangerous and be incorrect. Just because a computer is telling you something doesn't mean the computer is right. So a site like ChatGPT, where you can ask it questions, should not be used as a diagnostic tool. So you should not put in information about a patient and ask for the computer to diagnose the patient. Because one, it's unethical. You're sharing confidential patient information with this artificial intelligence, with a computer. And two, the computer could be wrong. So absolutely do not want to do that. Also, ChatGPT should not be used to craft notes for medical records. It shouldn't be used to write your papers for you. You are being trained to be a medical professional, so you want to make sure that you are participating in that training, and then you then are acting as a professional. If you are having a computer do your work for you, that is unethical and also can open you up to a lot of legal issues. For example, here, one company has admitted to using ChatGPT in messages to people seeking mental health services. So there was a company, and you can click on that link if you're interested in the article, but there was a company that's providing mental health services to people and was using an AI to answer people's questions about mental health services, which is, again, unethical because you're not keeping the information confidential, and also people could be in real crises, and rather than a person talking to them, they have a computer talking to them, and that could be really dangerous if the computer says something that it shouldn't. So that is that for technology. You really want to be careful. At work, you want to use the technologies provided to you by your workplace. You don't want to use other technology that hasn't been approved. And you want to make sure, like I said earlier with social media, that you keep all of your professional life off of social media, basically. Next is self-care. And you may be wondering, why are we talking about self-care in an ethics course? Well, if you are not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of your patients. You could be tired and miss a symptom. You could be distracted by stress and make a mistake. You could be frustrated and treat a patient badly. It's nearly impossible for you to be a professional for an 8, 10, or 12-hour shift if you're worn down and you're not taking care of yourself. So it is unethical to go to work tired. It is unethical to go to work and not be kind of your best self. So you want to make sure that you are first and foremost taking care of yourself before you try to take care of someone else. So what can you do to practice self-care? And this is going to depend, of course, on your situation, but we're looking kind of at general guidelines. So the self-care pillars are rest, nourishment, community, movement, and mindfulness. So there's 5 things that we want to think about when we're thinking about self-care. First, rest. Getting enough sleep it's not only something that like your parents would say to you, you want to get enough sleep so you can do your best, but it actually, is a scientific truth that sleep helps, improve your overall health and function. And if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not going to be at your best. Lack of sleep leads to increased blood pressure and blood sugar, so it's not good for your body. Also, decreased cognitive ability, so you're not going to be your smartest when you're tired. And increased irritability, so you're not going to be on your best behavior when you're tired. Adults need 7 to 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep each night. Exposure to blue light, like your phone, before bed makes falling asleep more difficult. Exposure to sunlight throughout the day makes falling asleep easier. So, if you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, getting outside and giving yourself, 15 to 30 minutes of sunlight every day will help you fall asleep. And also not looking at your phone right before bed will help you fall asleep. Because when you look at your phone right before bed, it's telling your brain that it's sunny out and that there's no need for you to go to sleep because it's not sleep time yet. Nourishment. Obviously, you need sleep and you also need food for your body to, all of its basic functions, plus all of the other things that you're asking it to do. You want to eat a variety of foods. You want to focus on eating things like fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins. You want to avoid too many fried foods, highly processed foods, and foods with excess sugar. And if you want to check out, something that maybe is going to give you more information, you can visit the My Plate plan, which is from the USDA. But just, remember, think about if you, were feeding someone else, somebody that you really cared about, what kind of foods would you give that person? And that is the type of food that you should feed yourself. Community. So research shows that, people with support systems live longer and healthier lives. So you really do want to make times to see friends and family as much as possible. If you don't have a support system, it is much easier to feel stressed and feel alone. So, text your friend and tell them you want to get together, or schedule a family, reunion, like whatever it is, whoever is going to make you feel better. Sometimes families are supportive and sometimes they're not. So if your family is not a support for you, then you don't want to spend extra time with them. But you want to find people who are going to support you and love you, and spend time with them so that you can be rejuvenated. Movement. So it doesn't have to be that you run a marathon. I have never run a marathon. I only run if someone's chasing me. But, exercise does reduce stress. It lowers blood sugar and blood pressure, and it keeps your body strong. Scheduling time to exercise is important. That's a good example of self-care when you're saying, I'm setting aside this time for myself. And you can double dip by also incorporating that community. So you could ask a friend to go on a walk or a bike ride or come with you to a yoga class. So you're getting that community support and you're also getting some movement in. And then mindfulness, meditation has also been shown to reduce stress, help people sleep, and help with weight management. So honestly, all that mindfulness and meditation is sitting quietly and focusing on your breathing. But if that doesn't feel like enough for you, or if you want some more guidance, there are lots of free meditations available on YouTube. You can just go in the YouTube and search for meditations. They're also available, I know, on Apple Music or Amazon Music. And really, you only need 5 minutes to see a benefit. So it's not as if you need to commit to 30 minutes of meditation every day. 5 minutes is really, kind of all you need to see that benefit and feel better, reduce your stress, and kind of improve your outlook. What about, and I know you're saying, Ms. Sparks, this is all great, but I don't have time for self-care. And I understand that. And I want to push back and say to you that your job does not care about you. You have to care about yourself. Your job cares about you as an employee, that you can show up and do your work, but they don't care how you're feeling. But we know that it's very important and ethical to make sure that you are feeling good. So you have to be a little bit selfish here to, make this self-care possible. So there are some, ideas I have, and I'm happy to hear if you have other ideas. So one, if you're feeling like self-care is impossible, if you're feeling like your job is overwhelming, talk to your supervisor, ask for their help. Many, especially if you're working in the healthcare field, healthcare professionals have been overworked historically, always, but especially in the last several years due to COVID, because there's short staffing. But what that means is that your supervisor cannot afford to lose you. So they would be better off, if they are a good decision maker, they would be better to say, you know what, I'll let you take this day off, rather than you're just going to quit because you're stressed and tired. Look into employee assistance programs, also called EAP. Many large organizations have these, and what it is they contract with an outside company they might provide, mental health services, they might provide wellness services. So ask your employer about what if they have an employee assistance program, or if they have other services that have to do with wellness. Take your sick days and your vacation days. I know a lot of people that work with me at Del Tech that do not take their sick and vacation days, and then they end up feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Turn down extra shifts if you are feeling overwhelmed. I know it can feel like you are responsible, and you don't want to, disappoint your patients, disappoint your coworkers. But if you are feeling burned out, then you really want to turn down extra shifts. Bring healthy meals with you to work so that you have something that's going to nourish you and also something to look forward to. When you're away from work, don't check work emails or spend time on work projects. Make sure you have some separation between your work life and your home life. And then finally, if your work environment is toxic, if you don't get support, then it may be necessary to find a new position. Again, you have to look out for yourself. Unfortunately, your employer is going to look out for themselves. So if things are really bad, it may be that you need to find a new job. So I did mention burnout here earlier. And so what burnout is really when you have become so stressed that, things are coming to a head. Something has to be done. So the symptoms of burnout are feeling helpless, trapped, and defeated, no longer feeling motivated to perform, feeling detached from the situation, no longer feeling empathy towards others, which is very risky and scary if you're taking care of patients, having an increasingly negative outlook, having headaches, stomach aches, and insomnia, relying on alcohol, drugs, or food to feel better in the moment. So I would say if you are experiencing probably 3 or more of these symptoms and you are experiencing burnout and it's an emergency, you need to absolutely address that before something really bad happens. If you want to read more about burnout, you can click this link down here for the Mayo Clinic. So then what is the treatment for burnout? You most likely are going to need some professional help if you are feeling those feelings. So the recommendation would be talk to your primary care provider, talk with a therapist, possibly visit a psychiatrist because you may need a prescription for an antidepressant or anti-anxiety med, and you may also need to take time off of work to recover. So you can see that the treatment for burnout is serious. Burnout itself is serious. If you're not already there, you don't want to get there. So in order to prevent burnout, we really want to go back and look at those pillars of wellness. And I'll just go back here so you can see them one more time. But you really want to look at those pillars of wellness of rest, nourishment, community, movement, and mindfulness. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. You're the only one who's going to be able to take care of yourself. And you need to protect yourself from burnout in order to protect your professional career and your personal life. Like I said in the beginning, you cannot take care of others if you haven't taken care of yourself first. Make sure you read the other resources I provided for this chapter, and let me know if you have any questions.